I am Trip Bauer.
I am Bam York.
And this is On the Platform. And we'd like to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors.
All none of them.
Okay, we're done with that part.
All right, cool.
So this is the third episode.
Yep.
And we have a pretty exciting announcement.
Yep.
By the time this comes out, after all the editing and fun stuff, we will have announced that we are hosting Static Monsters Jacksonville.
For the first time since
2020.
2020, yeah.
So we're bringing it back to Jacksonville.
Yep.
We're going to be hosting at Steel Mill, which is over in Fleming Island. Excellent gym, great folks.
Yeah. Huge thank you to Bill for
absolutely
letting us pursue this over there.
Absolutely. He was really quick to respond with a yes. So,
yeah.
We will be hosting it there. All of the details will get posted, of course. So stay tuned to the Bauer Strength Instagram and our Facebook and Instagram feeds.
Yeah.
There'll be more announcements coming out for that. We will be on Iron Podium shortly for sign up or just finalizing a few things.
Yep.
May already be there, in which case we'll put a link down below. And very exciting.
Yeah. That's something that we've been wanting to do for a couple of years. Just the timing.
Yeah, the timing needed to be right for it.
Yeah.
So we feel the timing's right, and we're going to bring it back to Jacksonville, and hopefully we'll have a whole big show up from Florida,
yeah,
a little bit from Georgia.
Yeah, especially from Georgia since they don't have it up there.
Yep, we can get some Georgia folks down. So going to be exciting.
Yeah.
So as we get into this, so it's hard not to laugh about this.
Yeah.
We had a training session the other night, and I don't know what exactly happened, who was in whose head, but it's probably going to bleed over into the questions for this.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I'm probably about 20 minutes before you showed up. I went to go cut one of the roots out of the walkway in front of the gym. And I picked up the hatchet and the handle, because it's one of those fancy Fiskars plastic hatchets.
Mm-hmm. So
the handle dumped a full load of water right down the front of my shirt.
Of course.
Shorts and everything else. So I ran in the house and I grabbed another shirt.
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't worn this one in a while. I'll grab this one. And I walk out the front of the house right as Bam's pulling up. And I can see and hear him laughing from his truck from 60 feet away. I have no idea what's going on. And I walk out to the truck. He's still laughing. Can't even talk. He gets out of the truck wearing the same damn shirt.
Yep. And what's funny is that morning I was getting ready to head to work and didn't feel like wearing sleeves, which I rarely do. And just had been wearing the same shirts over and over again. Like, yeah, I'll just wear something different. I haven't worn this shirt once since we got it at the last Static Monsters that we both did. Yep. And didn't think anything of it. Then I pulled up. And you come walking in the house. I'm like, this son of a bitch.
So I'm not exactly sure who is in whose head, but like I said, it's a scary proposition either way, I think.
Yeah.
So a lot of the prompts that we put together for this are probably going to overlap to some degree.
Right.
But we did want to talk about programming, talk about coaching, kind of some of the decisions that we've had.
Yeah.
So you've gone the different ways. You want to give a quick?
Yeah, so I've always kind of done more of the self-programming, or, a lot of it train with a partner, and fuck, if they're stronger than me, I'll just do what they do. If it's working for them, maybe it'll work for me. And last couple of years, I just started doing more and more training on my own as, I built out the home gym more and all that, and became increasingly cantankerous and antisocial, more of a hermit, less tolerable of the normal gym population. So I tried doing some programs, a couple of the ones from Alzru. I tried. I've done 5-3-1 off and off forever, but trying to adapt it over to strongman gets kind of confusing because it's not, 3 lifts and the accessories and all that. It is, but it's not. So I finally went the coaching route. And
was this your first coaching route?
Yes. Yeah. First fully committed coaching. And started off with one coach who was a great dude, very knowledgeable, but just didn't jive with the scheduling and the communication, and then just some of the issues that I was having. The solutions were making it worse. So kind of got frustrated and was like, I'll go back to doing this on my own. And you and I kind of kicked back and forth some programming and all that. And then honestly, just lost training motivation altogether. And then, through the change of the year and all that, early January, was dealing with some mental health shit and just decided, okay, I got to get back on this. And I hit up Michael De La Pava, MDLP, the Battle Axe in Miami, and was like, here's where I am. This is what I need. Can you help me out? And hit the ground running from there. Within a week, I had decided that I was going to do Miami's Baddest. And I had like 10 weeks to prep. And it, being my first full sanctioned show and all that, I went in as a novice, and with all the injuries and stuff that I've had and brain trauma and all the silly shit that I've dealt with in the past couple of years, I didn't go in there with, any grandiose ideas that I was walking out the winner. It just wasn't fucking happening. But I told him that I had one goal primarily, and that was just to show up. Right. Not get in my head, not quit, not say fuck this, whatever, make an excuse to not compete. So I did that. Getting closer to the comp, I gave myself a second goal of not zeroing any events. And that was secondary thing, whatever. Well, I was able to do that. And then I had a third goal that I didn't tell anyone about, and that was just don't come in fucking last. And I didn't. So, shortly after, a few days after that was over with, we decided to keep going. I'm sticking with them for, at least the rest of the year. And we're going to do Alabama and apparently Static Monsters now. So.
And apparently Static Monsters. So the biggest differences between self-programming and self-regulation in a coach, what would you think?
For me, it's the accountability. I don't have to check in with myself. And I don't have to send myself videos of my lifts. And I don't have to, send myself an email every week outlining where I'm at, how this felt, how that felt, all that kind of shit. I also don't text message myself to make sure that I'm eating and all the other shit. What's funny is if you know MDLP enough and you've talked to him enough, when he texts you, you hear it.
I can see
with
that.
His, in his voice with his accent, and it makes that text a whole lot more intimidating at times.
Yep, I can totally see that.
But yeah, so it's a lot of it's the accountability part, and then having a secondary opinion that I can pull from.
Right.
So it's like, this is how I feel about this. What do you think? One thing that we went over was some of my overhead stuff. Mm-hmm. And I felt like a lot of my problem was in my triceps lagging. Mm-hmm. And he had other thoughts, just different things with my shoulder, my positioning, my stance, all that kind of stuff. Kind of tweaked that, and it's helped.
So he was right.
Yeah, of course. I mean, my triceps are lagging, but they're not the big problem right now. So right now, the big problem is I'm still trying to lift like I'm 350 fucking pounds when I'm, in the 270s. So
it's a big change.
Yeah.
But you've got a lot more, we talked about in the first podcast.
Yeah.
The number of years you've got behind. It's kind of interesting that you got to coaching basically within the last 12 months, right?
Yeah.
So everything you did before that was all find a program, run a program, and
yep, and
fuck around-itis?
Pretty much. And I mean, it worked pretty well, like with powerlifting and stuff like that. Like, I understand if I've got X amount of weeks to prep for a meet, here's what the cycles need to look like. This is how this wave needs to go and this wave needs to go. When do I need to deload? When do I need to, when do I need to be peaking? So I could always kind of figure that out. But now coming over into strongman, it's just there was so much extra because it's not just squat, bench, deadlift, and what are the accessories, Like, I got really in my head about it when I first started looking into strongman. This is like 2018, I think. I was talking to Andrew Clayton, and my whole thing was like, I just want someone to show me how to do this, because in my head I'm thinking, I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to program in prepping to fucking lift a car.
Well, you start with a tricycle.
Right. I'm just sitting here going, there's no amount of like fucking side lateral dumbbell raises I can do that can help me get a Civic off the fucking ground. So, but you recently went kind of the opposite direction.
I did.
You had gone in with the coaching and all that, and now you're back into programming. So what's that like for you as far as the difference?
A lot of it goes back to where I started at.
Okay.
So you've got way more training years than I do.
Yeah.
I didn't start training until 2018.
Right.
Ironically, on April 1st. And I posted about it, and none of my family or friends believed it. So April 1st, 2018, I started back at the gym, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was running the program from the back of Arnold's Encyclopedia.
Right.
And that was all I knew how to do.
Yeah.
And that was all I'd done before. It's fairly successful before, but I wasn't training for anything.
Yeah.
I started following programs from one of the online coaches, programmers, supplement company guys.
Okay.
And I liked it, but it was all bodybuilding stuff.
Yeah.
And it got old fast. I like eating too much. So I started looking for something else, and I was searching YouTube, and I was finding all the same videos that everybody else finds. I stumbled across Neversee, and I really got into the channel, right? I started watching all the stuff. I started learning what everything was, and I decided, hey, I'm going to go do strongman now. So, we talked about this in the beginning, as I went and bought some kegs, and I destroyed my back the first day I decided to train strongman, really.
Yeah.
So coming back from that, though, I looked at, well, what do his programs look like? And I started with, I didn't have money for a coach.
Right.
So I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, just like you were saying. How do I program any of this? How do I learn it? But then how do I program it?
Right.
So I bought, or I downloaded one of the templates from Brian Alsruth.
Okay.
And that was the linear progression one. And I ran most of it. And I really liked it.
Yeah.
But I was having trouble figuring out how to fit in everything. So I reached out and I said, hey, I want a customized program. And I did one. And I did another. And I did another. Now, I've been on the wait list for him for coaching forever.
Right.
Probably be forever, because he stepped back with the volume that he was doing. So when I talked to him the first time, he hadn't actually lost anybody in 10 years.
Jeez.
So not taking anybody else on was just because he was already at his limit.
Right.
And it is awesome how every time we do one of these, somebody's either revving a truck or there's a train in the background.
I was more worried about the kids next door that were screaming like they were being murdered. That might get us flagged. Saying the word kids and murder in the same sentence.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But so anyway, I did a program. I did another program. I used one of his programs to come back after that injury. And I did another one. And I did another one. And I probably would have just kept doing the programs and just working out and enjoying it. And I was really enjoying it.
Yeah.
The big change happened was I saw Static Monsters 2020. I reached out because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about it. And I talked with Shannon. He invited me over. We spent the day just basically bullshitting. Not as a coach per se, but kind of as a mentor for a little bit. We had a lot of conversations back and forth and talked about coaching and when it was right and all those sort of things. I stuck with the programming for a while. In 2021, from 2019 to 2021, all I did was never say programs.
Yeah.
Custom programs for Brian. I went in and everything I entered, I won.
Yeah.
So I figured, hey, this is great. This must be the thing. Had some injuries, fell back off, got away from the training for a little bit, demotivated, etc. And then come back around to that winter. I hired a coach.
Yeah.
I hired a coach to help me with strength, but I hired a coach to help me with Highland games as well, because I just gotten into that.
Right.
Perhaps one of the most miserable experiences of my life.
Oh, I remember.
I swore off coaching. I actually got weaker
Yeah.
in the first month. Less coordinated, less distances on my throws, weaker in all my lifts. I was like, I can't even compete if I do this.
Yeah.
So that's it. Fuck it. I'm not doing a coach. I'm not having a coach, period. I'm just going to keep doing this my way. I ran for a while. I talked to a couple different coaches. I wound up, where are we at now? So we're coming up on summer 22.
Yeah.
Alabama was in front of me. I was all healed. I'm ready to go. And I needed a little bit of help getting motivated and getting going. So that accountability piece that you were talking about, I couldn't get my ass out into the gym and say, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. I needed somebody to help. Reached out to a few folks and was connected with Max McCall. Absolutely. And you started this segment by saying, you went the other way. And I did. Not because of anything from him. The guy is an amazing coach. Absolutely amazing with what he's done as athletes, what he helped me do. I set 5 PRs working with him. The challenge that I had was I was so used to the other type of programming and more specifically like the never say type of programming that I found myself not quite enjoying what I was doing anymore.
Right.
And for me with this, I mean, I came into this as a master's athlete.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm just kind of holding on to what I was doing or, continuing the legacy or anything like that. I came in as an old guy.
Right.
So I'm never going to achieve, hugeness.
Right.
I need to enjoy the workouts too.
Yeah.
And we talked and he changed stuff up and, absolutely amazing as far as an experience with the coach. He's willing to adapt his programming and change these things. Looking at everything and where I was at and how everything was going, and I was struggling a little bit with some mental health issues as well. I just kind of backed off on it. Yeah. Because it wasn't anything that he did. It was more what I did or didn't do. I was starting to get to the point where it's like, well, I can shave this off the end. And that's not good. Yeah. It's not beneficial. I'm never going to get anywhere doing it.
Right.
So I talked with him for a minute and basically said, hey, look, I'm going to go back. I'm going to try doing this again. We'll talk in the future maybe. And I think I've recommended 3 or 4 people over to him. So it's not anything on him.
Right.
I just wanted to make that clear. Because usually whenever somebody leaves a coach, it's like, they suck. And the first one. I'm not going to say the first guy's name.
Right.
Most of the people listening, all 6 of you, probably know who it is, though. But yeah, so he was great. It was just the way that he programmed and the way that he ran the things didn't directly align with what I was trying to achieve. He would have gotten me to each of my goals. He would have gotten me first at Alabama. He would have gotten me in nationals in a good place. I have no doubt of that. But those goals aren't necessarily my goals.
Right.
So my goals are to come out, 4 times a week and do the thing.
Right.
I need to do the thing. I need to enjoy that as much or more than the competitions. The competitions are kind of so I know what to work towards.
Yeah.
More so than I'm training for this competition and that's my only goal.
Right.
Whether there's a coach out there for that, I don't know. I'm still on Brian's waiting list.
Yeah.
And I figure that might work out because those are the type of programs. So I'm running another one of his programs now, which is another piece I wanted to chat about was, picking a program.
Yeah.
But the way that he runs things, I think that would wind up working out, whether it's because that's how I started or because I found it because that's the way that I wanted to train. I don't know.
Right.
But I found it a little bit better as far as just my day to day.
Yeah.
And, we talked in one of these about, the lifting being kind of therapeutic in a sense. It definitely is more so with his type programs. So, but I'm working towards Alabama.
Yeah.
I will say I'm not sure what is going to happen with static. I know you're lifting. I know Josephine's lifting. I don't know if I'm lifting or not.
Really?
Well, 2 things. So by the time this runs, I'll probably have an answer. But I reached out to find out if I could. Okay. Because there will be other people to run it and guide it.
Right.
It's going to run the computers and handle the check-ins, all that stuff. So to some degree, I probably could. I mean, I'm not Brian Shaw, but
yeah,
it's possible to compete and run the thing.
Well, you would be more Shaw-like if on the first year that we're hosting this, you win it.
Only if small people sign up.
But you also have to wear a special pair of grippy, sticky shorts that nobody else has. And make sure you have your own hype team that only gets loud whenever you're on the platform. I'm not taking anything away. I love Brian Shaw, but like that first one, man, it was just like, God.
We'll see how it shakes out. The biggest thing for this, coming back to the static piece, is that was the first show that I did.
Yeah.
And it was a turning point because it went from just exercising to actually being an athlete.
Yeah.
You know, there's all that talk about, oh, I'm a strongman. Are you?
Have
How
you
many
competed?
competitions have you competed?
Right.
So that was a turning point there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of neat and kind of a full circle thing.
Yeah.
That here 3 years later, after I've done in my little world some pretty good things,
Yeah.
that I get to come around and the first show that I'm going to host is actually the first show that I competed in.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
There's a circle of life thing going on there.
Yeah.
So I may just focus on that because it is the first one.
Yeah.
And you've got way more experience than I do in hosting shows.
Yeah. A whole lot more.
A whole lot more.
I've helped try to plan and pull off 2 and successfully hosted 1. I'm fucking betting fucking 500 over here, man.
Still more successful than my record.
This is true. Well, you haven't failed yet, so I have once.
Well, we'll try and fail on the next one, not this one.
Yeah, right. No shit.
So, but yeah, so that's, I don't know that I won't go back to a coach in the future.
Yeah.
I don't know that I won't go back and work with Max or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you right now. I can tell you that for right now, though, I'm good doing another program.
Yeah.
So, and actually, like I said, it's another Ulcer program. So I just downloaded, it's not a custom one, but I just downloaded the latest one that he released, which is the scaled power builder.
Yeah. It was power builder, I think.
Now I can't remember.
It's the one you showed me the other day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's now I gotta look this up. It's the last one that he just released. It's
Right.
a scaled version, and in the intro, it's really cool. So it states that it's perfect for novices and great for masters athletes.
Nice.
Yeah, scaled power builder.
Okay.
It is because I've run the power builder 3 times now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
The problem that I have with not having a coach is I typically will run headfirst into a program.
Yeah.
At this point, I haven't trained regularly, and by regularly I mean 3 or 4 times a week for more than a couple of weeks at a time.
Right.
Since before Christmas.
Yeah.
Various reasons, mental health issues, a couple of tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
So normal me would have run headfirst and just gone and run Power Builder.
Right.
And I'll say that I ran Power Builder, I think 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I finished it because something always comes up. There's usually I push myself too far.
Yeah.
2 waves in or something like that. So this time I'm taking a little bit of a different approach. I'm doing the scaled version, taking it easy the first few weeks. I'm easing back into it.
Yeah.
I've got 12 weeks till Alabama.
Right. Yeah, we
So-
have plenty of time.
I can burn the first week or 2 doing a little bit light and getting me moving again without injury. And then I'm going to run that, probably not the whole thing.
Okay.
So I think the plan that I want to do is I'm going to run that for the first wave. So I'll get a good 4 weeks of it in.
Okay.
And then switch back over to one of the other programs.
Okay. That makes sense.
But again, one of Alzer's programs that I've run before getting ready for a show.
Yeah.
So I'll get 2 waves of that, which the way that they're set up is really cool because the waves are there and they vary between them. But you can come in and kind of jump at a certain point.
Nice.
And you're not going to lose anything
Right.
because it's not necessarily like the programs you talked about earlier. It's not necessarily building towards a peak at a specific, 7.5 weeks in, you're going to be peaked or something.
Right.
Like that. I'm also not training specifically for that.
Yeah.
Like this whole be dangerous thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just training to train. I'm training to get stronger all over.
Yeah.
That's all I did the first times. Was I just trained as hard as I could. Yeah. And I went in and I won stuff. Gonna try that again. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I came in 4th last year. Still not happy about it.
Yeah, you only mention it once or twice every time we hang out, so
It's grating on me.
yeah, I can tell.
It is. And some of that was because I made some stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
But I made some stupid mistakes because I wasn't prepped for it adequately.
Right.
Not that the coaching wasn't adequate to lead up to it. I mean, you throw any coach in. I'll be honest with you. Last summer, I was really surprised that he took me on for that.
Yeah.
So I was basically like 5 weeks out from a show, and he said, "Yeah, let's start. Let's go. Let's do what we can for you."
Oh yeah.
I've talked to other coaches before stuff, and they're like, "No, you need
Too
6
close.
months.
Yeah.
Or, we'll do something in a year."
Yeah.
I think you talked to somebody at one point that said, "Yeah, we'll do something next year."
Right. And it's like, no.
That's need a different conversation.
Yeah. And I think with my the first person I hired as a coach, the one mistake I did make, and this is not anything against him, because like I said, he's a great dude and he's a great coach. I mean, he's got some bigger names under him right now. But I went the route of hiring a friend, and because he's a friend, and I didn't give as much pushback as I probably should have on some things, and definitely stayed on with him longer than I probably needed to, just given the situation. And ended up to the point where a couple of the movements and stuff that I was doing with the best intention ended up causing me a little bit of an injury here or there. So choosing to walk away when I did, it was kind of a transition point for him anyway. So it was easy to just be like, "Hey man, I'm just gonna go my own way," and no hard feelings, nothing like that. And like I said, he's got a whole lot bigger fish to fry than me anyway. So, but yeah, at the time he had just gotten his doctorate. He's in a career change. Just had a kid. Like all this other shit's going on. Plus he's got all these other clients, and it's just like, yeah, dude, overwhelming yourself.
And then he's got to deal with you.
Right. Like something's got to fucking give at some point. So I decided to remove the most stressful factor out of his life and go somewhere else.
So in the periods where you weren't with a coach, how'd you pick a program?
Well, so kind of similar to like where you said you started with, the program that's in the back of Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. My early stuff came from reading Muscle and Fitness magazine. And of course, I'm a 14-year-old kid, so when I go to the gym, I'm just doing what I see all the bigger guys doing. All the guys are like, "Oh man, I want to look like that. I want to be that strong one day. I'm just gonna freaking parrot everything that this guy is doing." And then I became the annoying kid at the gym, who's pick someone, follow him around. "So what do you do for this? What do you do for that? What do you do for that?" And then get older, get more into powerlifting and all that kind of stuff. Of course, once you get into powerlifting, you hear about Westside. You hear about Westside. You hear about Conjugate and all the different forms that takes. And this guy went to what was at Westside, and he went here and he did this. This guy did this, and you end up with you've got cube method, you've got fifth set, you've got regular conjugate, you got trigger warning conjugate, you've got all this. And I ended up with, honestly, the simplest one that just works was Wendler's 531. And, there's all the different variations of 531 and all that. But because of the way Wendler lays it out, it was just more easily accessible. And it's just easier to figure out. Like, the minimum qualifications for running that program are, can you read at a 6-year-old's level? Because that's what he wrote it for. He even says that he wrote it so in a way that his son would be able to read it and interpret it and know what to do. So it's just a very no bullshit, not using big words to sound fancy and smarter than you kind of program. And again, the best program is always the one you're going to use.
Right.
And with that one, because it was just so accessible, that's the one that I always fell back to. I'd go off and try something else and just always end up eventually making my way back into something that looked more like 531 or, a 531 conjugate-y kind of hybrid. Mm-hmm. But it was always based around the 531 principle. So, like I said, that worked for years. And then I decided to get into strongman, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, I know how to do my bench, squat, and deadlift. There's a fucking rock over there. When did we get a fucking rock? So then again, I just, it wasn't quite coaching. It was finding like Brian Shaw's online programming thing with the Shaw Strength Club. You know, I look at stuff like that, or like anything that anyone at the pro level was putting out, training videos, stuff like that. I would just kind of imitate that after after the initial conversation, the conversations that I had with Clayton and training with him a few times and all that. I just became very much monkey see, monkey do. Still train a lot of, base a lot of the training around the 5-3-1 shit, and then just add in overhead press, add in this. And
so you didn't try and sets and reps to match the 5-3-1 with a log or something.
Right. So, and then just from there, it's like, okay, well, I know that there's better programming for this out there. So I started kind of looking into it. But when you're getting into a career change, becoming self-employed, then just everything in the past 3 years, the self-programming kind of went out the window because, like you said, I could shave off this at the end. I could just skip that. I don't feel like doing this day. I'll just do 3 days this week. It's Monday. I'm supposed to be overhead pressing. Fuck, I'll do it tomorrow. It became a lot of that. And then as mental health issues kind of ramp up and everything else, then it's just easier to be like, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. So I needed the accountability. And I'm doing a lot better now. So.
Well, for the accountability, once I switched back and I didn't have the coach anymore, it's where I go back to Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm not posting the whole workout.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I posted the whole workout, well, the programs are for sale, and it's kind of not cool.
Right.
But just posting to say, hey, I did this today.
Yeah.
I've gotten those messages, why are you posting this? Who cares about this? And all that shit. And first off, those people can go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
That's a given.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not posting it for them.
Right.
I'm posting it for me.
Yeah.
I'm posting it as a record that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked back at my Instagram to figure out what, former PRs were and everything else.
Right.
But I'm posting it for me. I'm posting it to say I did this today.
Yeah.
There's days I don't post, and believe it or not, I've with the, the ones of followers that I have,
mm-hmm.
I get messages. Hey, you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you mean? Well, you haven't posted in a week. Didn't get any good training videos.
Yeah.
Just didn't post. So that's kind of turned into somewhat of accountability for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the difference between, posting training videos for clout versus, it being more self-serving.
Right.
And that's, you've met me. My personality. That's been a shift that I've had to make, and it's really fucking weird.
I didn't have that shift because my 200-something pound strict presses, there's no clout coming with that.
Yeah.
Maybe with some of the sixth graders that when they're talking.
Right.
But no, and then there is still the challenge of, do I do it today?
Yeah.
Do I push it? So yesterday should have been a training day, and I didn't train. Today I was supposed to be judging a Highland Games event, and unfortunately, got some sort of stomach thing going.
Yeah.
Earlier this week, so I haven't been quite right this week. I did get training in on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was a good training day too.
It was a really good training day, and I did post some videos from
it.
And then Friday came around, and it was supposed to be squat day, and my stomach wasn't feeling too good.
Yeah.
So I decided, for the good of the laundry, that we're going to just push this one off.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let's see what Saturday looks like, because you were coming by to train today.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to train and then do this. Yeah, today wasn't so great either.
Yeah.
Still not feeling 100%. So most likely what's going to happen, and I'm going to regret it on Monday, but I'll double up tomorrow. And then I'll probably jump in on Monday, and I'll wind up with too many too close.
Yeah.
So now the debate in my head is, do I double tomorrow and then skip till Tuesday? and then do Tuesday, Wednesday back to back and kind of get back on track with it.
Yeah.
That's the one challenge that I have is when I need to substitute something. Now, fortunately, from the time I worked with Max, he taught me how to keep going through the stuff.
Yeah.
Not a stomach bug, but you get injured here. Here's how to adjust. Here's how to scale. Here's how to, replace something to be able to accommodate. So I'm getting better at that.
Yeah.
Because that used to be my excuse. You know what? My shoulder's not doing too good, and it's supposed to be overhead day. I'd skip it.
Yeah.
Well, he got me going in and doing, well, how much can you do? Do that with that arm. Okay. Don't make it worse, but if half range of motion doesn't present any pain, well, now you're still doing your day and you've got your half range of motion.
Yeah.
So you're still progressing.
Right.
And that honestly was one of the biggest things. Now it's really when things come up that prevent, there's a family emergency and I'm just not at home.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So, but other than that, I'll be back on track and rocking and rolling.
Mm-hmm. See, one thing I do like is, and a lot of coaches now are using that same app.
True Coach.
True Coach.
Yeah.
My first coach. All right. My first coach used that, and programming each day and all that. But what I didn't like about that, and it made it start to feel like having another job, was every day I've got to fill this in, or it alerts and does this, and it bitches at you for missing the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas with MDLP, doing everything through BattleX, I get an email. This is what you're doing this week. Do this, and I already know what he's wanting me to check in with, what videos he wants, all because we have that conversation.
Right.
So there's 4 program days for the week. I've got 7 days to do it. There's suggestions, do them in this order, but, do this on either this day or this day. Do this day or this day. So I'm able to space it out more. Right now I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and typically Sunday. But I figured I'd do Saturday, get it done, so then my one day off this week I can actually relax. But it looks like I'll be just training on my day off. But with that, having that little bit of flexibility makes it a little bit more enjoyable, because it doesn't feel like, I've got enough things that I fucking have to do every day, and now more than ever. So taking away one of the have-tos and making it more, this is there to be done, but I can do it whenever. That has made it a lot better for me. And it still keeps with some consistency, because I know I'm doing overhead on either Monday or Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Usually, just do it on Monday, because why the hell not? It's Monday.
Right.
Then I pull Wednesday or Thursday. Typically, that's my lower body day. Well, I'm just going to do it on Wednesday, because it's just easier that way. So then what it runs into for me is, all right, when do I do my third day? Am I going to do it Thursday, or am I going to do it Friday? Because I can do it either day, because it's not as intense. It's an accessory day. And then it gives me, all right, at some point this weekend, I'm training events. That makes it easier too, because I can either choose to do it on Saturday after work, and then that completes my week. Or again, I can do it more leisurely on my day off. It just kind of fucks with everything else I need to do on my one day off. So it doesn't feel like a chore.
Right.
And that was one thing I always liked about programming myself, is it never felt like a chore, because I was just doing what the fuck I wanted to do.
Yeah, but doing what the fuck you want to do doesn't necessarily get you where you want to go.
Exactly. It did for a while, but...
Well, everything works.
Yeah. Until
nothing works forever.
Right.
And that's, and then we come back to the question of cycling the programs and stuff. But,
yeah.
You mentioned a True Coach, and I used that when I was working with the coach, but I've got all of my stuff set up. I'm trying to bring it up here to hold up. Maybe I'd take a screenshot of one of these. I've got all my stuff on my phone.
Yeah.
And that's probably not showing up in the camera. I'm using OneNote.
Yeah.
So I get the PDF from the website when I buy it, or if I have him do one, he emails it to me. And I copy it. And there's that damn train again. And it's coming back the other way. But I copy page for page into OneNote.
Yeah.
So every day has its own page.
Right. I
can sit there at lunch. I take a nice little lunch break during the day. And I can say, okay, well, this is 85% of a 1 rep. Well, here's my 1 rep and this and this. And this. So I can write all the weights down. I don't have to figure it out when I'm out here. It's just, boom, you're good. Go. Here's what you need to put on the bar. Here's what you need to do. Run through the whole thing.
Well, see, I'm an overanalyzer anyway. So when I get my programming emailed to me on Sunday for the following week, I'll look at it and I'll already know what my weights are going to be for my upper body day and my lower body day. I already figured that out. And until I'll think about what my overhead press is going to be or what, my bench press or whatever it's going to be obsessively.
Right.
Until I do it. And then once that day is over with, then I, think about the next number. And it's not healthy, I'm sure. I get in my head a lot.
Oh.
But I skip that having to prepare thing because I'm over preparing the entire time.
It's just too much math for me to try and do in my head.
There's
a piece of software that'll do it for me.
It's
way nicer.
I go total Rain Man. It's ridiculous. But to the point to where I've actually considered buying the fractional plates, just because in my head I'll calculate it out to it's gonna be so 225.563 fucking
So without the fractional plates, do you round up or do you round down?
I round up.
I round up too.
Yeah, that's a guy thing though.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't trust the math, so I figure it's got to be a little bit heavier than that.
Well, it's like, and this is something that Mike and I were talking about at the shop before with dumbbells, right?
Right.
A typical set of dumbbells, people will buy them. If they buy them, it's either going to be in 5-pound increments or 10-pound increments, right? But 5 pounds is the common. Going 5 to 100, you have 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up. But in the lower weights, and you can get them in the higher weights too, but in the lower weights, you get the 7.5s, the 12.5s, the 17.5s, 22.5s, 27.5s, because that's more marketed to women. Because if you give someone a percentage, you give it to a woman, typically they're going, that's what it is. This is, I'm going to do that. You give it to a guy, and because we're slightly less evolved gorillas, we see that and it's like, oh, it's, I got to do 217 pounds for, bench press. Fuck, I'm doing 225.
Well, 225 is easier to load.
Right, exactly.
So it's going to be a little bit heavier for a couple of lifts, but man, it's so much easier to load. I don't have to pick up that extra plate.
And also, I did 225 for, I did more than I was supposed to. Kind of.
Yeah. I did have, and Mike gave me no end to the ration of shit. When I bought those rubber hex dumbbells,
yeah,
I actually wound up with the incrementals,
right,
for my wife and my daughter.
Right.
I do like them though.
Yeah,
and I'm going to go ahead and admit that now. All right, I'll freely admit I do like those, but that goes back to the bodybuilding training that I started with.
Right.
Because nothing, absolutely nothing, gave me more pleasure. And when I say this, you're going to see exactly how I wound up competing in strongman. Nothing gave me more pleasure than running the rack.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. When that popped up on a program, I was ecstatic. I was always disappointed that the only time I ever saw somebody do that with triceps is if you watch CT Fletcher videos.
Yeah.
So I've actually got videos back on my Instagram from way back when I said, you know what? I'm going to go in on Sunday afternoon when there's nobody in this Globo gym.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in. I got my training partner's going to come in, and I'm going to do that so I can have the dumbbells all over the friggin' place.
Right.
And I did it. And now I know why nobody does it.
Putting all those dumbbells back fucking sucks.
No, when you're sitting there running the rack and you're doing reps, laying on the floor, bouncing your triceps, it is brutal.
Oh yeah.
And when you see those increment ones, they need to go fuck off.
Yeah.
When you're doing it with bicep curls, oh, they're great. You can run all the way down.
Yeah.
I bet somebody one day that I could make him cry curling to 2.5s. He didn't believe me. We ran up, we ran down, all the way out to as far as he could possibly lift.
Oof.
And then we ran back down, and he couldn't pick up the 2.5s. And you're laughing. I couldn't pick up the 2.5s either. So we were doing 10 reps on each
I've done that.
It's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And you feel it for days, but not like pain. Like you feel that accomplishment because that's crazy. So the incrementals are good for that.
Yeah.
it'd be more boring if you didn't have them. If it was just 5-pound jumps.
I actually did something similar one time at the gym out in Jack's Beach. There was this dude, and at the time I wasn't really training for anything. It was more bodybuilding kind of, But I didn't know the guy, but we always were just there at the same time, so we just kind of hit it off. He asked me his name. I had no idea. He never told me his name. I never told him my name. He was just the black dude at the gym. I was just the brown dude at the gym. Everyone else, it's funny. It's the gym out at Jack's Beach, but everyone else is like fucking translucent white. So one day we were both doing chest, and we both had the idea because they had just got this new, just a regular chest fly machine. Nothing fancy, just a regular chest fly, but it had a 350-pound stack on it. And they were in 15-pound increments. So maybe it was 360 or something like that, how it ended up. So we decided, okay, we're going to start at 50 pounds. And we're going to do sets of 10. And we're going to add a plate each time until we get the full stack. And then we're going to come back down to 50 pounds. So same thing. It's like running the rack, but miserable. By the time we got done going back to 50 pounds, it's the same thing. I couldn't budge the thing at all. And I mean, my entire chest, everything is just on fire. The next day, my chest had such a pump going in that I couldn't move my arms and shoulders enough to like put my seatbelt on in my work truck, anything like that. And then the second day, day after, oh my God. I woke up, thought I was having a heart attack. Like, wait a minute, a heart attack isn't like in your pectoral muscle up here.
You can't touch a heart attack.
Right. And that heart attack lasted 3 days. It was fucking terrible. But I do miss doing that kind of shit.
So it's fun talking about the 3 days DOMS. I went in and it's sort of funny. I did $2,600 worth of lab work and scans and everything else because the doctor thought my liver was failing. Because I went in right after a really, really, really heavy session.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember what the session was, but I remember that I was like limping into the doctor's office for my appointment and didn't think anything of it. They're like, okay, well, we're going to draw for blood, or we're going to draw blood for your lab work.
Right.
So they drew blood and it went off and came back a couple days later. They called me in. It was like an emergency.
Oh, shit.
ALT and AST levels.
Yeah.
Were through the roof.
Through the roof, yeah.
Absolutely through the roof. So I didn't know about this at the time. These are the same idiot fucking doctors that put me on TRT when I didn't need it.
Right.
So I'm still not, at this point, I'm still following what they're saying. I'm still paying attention.
It's just the different modes of thinking at this table is your doctors put you on TRT when you didn't need it. Mm-hmm. And your opinion is because of that, that's one of the reasons why they're fucking idiots.
Right.
My doctor put me on TRT when I didn't need it. I mean, it's a gift from God.
It really depends on how you look at it, though. Right? And this goes back to our first conversation.
Yeah.
That if he hadn't done that, I'd still be, I don't want to say the N word. I'd still be natty.
Yeah.
Right? Completely. If he hadn't put me on this stuff.
Arguably the second worst N word.
Yes. Yes. But, yes. But now I'm on it. There's no coming off of it. I tried 3 times to come off of it, and it's just a done deal at this point.
Yeah.
So, there's acceptance there. But $2,600 worth of lab work and test because he didn't bother to ask, hey, did you do a heavy training session yesterday?
Right.
Or recently? And this was bad enough that I was walking in like a T-Rex.
Mm-hmm.
Like my arms were fried, my legs were fried.
Your standard, general practitioner, primary care doctor. Look at them. Mm-hmm. Most of them are fat, out of shape. In some way, they bitch to you about your cardiac health and how the things that you're doing are bad for your body, and it's like, dude, you are 3 M&Ms away from fucking keeling over yourself, and you're telling me about my life choices? Like, get the fuck out of here, man. But that's why I do appreciate, and I'm going to use air quotes, my doctor.
Same doctor.
he's got a piece of paper that says that he's a doctor.
Right.
Whether he bought that off of the internet or not is none of my business. But apparently he attended some medical school, possibly in the South Caribbean. But he's
not a DC.
Right. But he understands the physical training aspect of it and all that as a byproduct of his style of administering medicine, I'm sure, because he has the reputation of being that doctor where you can go and get your shit. Well, all the guys that train go there to get their shit if they need to get it legally. So, yeah, it makes sense. That's one of the reasons why I stick with him. Is because, I don't get my prescription for that stuff from him. I get it cheaper elsewhere.
Right.
But if I have an issue, he does know that, okay, this is going to be a factor. So, yeah, whereas I have had doctors. I had a doctor one time that told me that I needed to stop squatting because I was going to end up needing a hip replacement. Anecdotal evidence because he had a patient, and this is his words. A patient who was a golfer in his 50s who started working out, started lifting weights, and started squatting and needed a hip replacement. Okay, you told me this guy is in his 50s. He's a golfer.
Right.
Okay, so he's doing one directional hip rotation repetitively, at least.
Way worse than squatting.
Yeah. So that's putting wear and tear on his hips. Plus, he's in his 50s, and this is a guy whose idea at the time of physical exertion was fucking golfing. So I know this guy's not making the healthiest fucking lifestyle choices. When golf is your exercise. Now, I'm wearing a golf hat right now. I like golf. I'm terrible at it, but I like it. But that's not a sport. I'm sorry. At like the Tiger Woods level, that's a sport. But at Chet, the retired lawyer who needed to have a fucking hip replacement, that's not a sport. That's not physical exertion. It's a poor life choice. But I had this doctor told me that I needed to stop squatting so I wouldn't ruin my hip. And at the time, I'm like 25. Like, I'm in better shape than you've ever been. Like, you are supposed to be a professional that specializes in the human body. And my body's the best goddamn one you've ever seen.
All right, but in fairness, do you know any mechanics with really good cars?
This is true. This is true.
How many barbers have a full head of hair?
The guy up at Nathan's.
He does. So there's an exception.
Yeah.
Most of the barbers I've had in my 45 years on this planet have been bald.
Right. It's just funny that you and I both still go to the barber because, like, fucking why?
Well, I backed off for the summer.
Yeah.
So I went to the barber because I can't make this fade.
Right.
Right. So when I grow this up, this is the summer cut is nice and down low.
Yeah.
It's like a convertible. I just drop the top for the summer. And then I bring it back up for the winter when it's cold. I used to do that when I rode.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as it starts getting a little chilly out, you want something on your face to keep the wind off of you.
Yeah.
I don't ride anymore. So it's just kind of legacy at this point.
Yeah, right.
But I still grow it up long.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it. I couldn't get it right. And with work and everything else, I needed it nice. So
yeah,
I stumbled into and found a barber.
Yeah.
It was old school barber.
I just like going to an actual barber that will do a straight razor shave on my head. That's one of those fucking relaxing things in the world to me.
It is. For the most part.
And it's not like they're going to slip and cut my fucking ear off. That ship has fucking sailed. I took care of it already.
You just cover the other one up.
Yeah, right.
But well, in looking at all this,
mm-hmm.
how's your training changed since you're now back to this? The method and the mode. Obviously, you're going with what MDLP thinks is your program.
Right.
He writes the program and he says that.
Yeah.
Is it different from what you've done before? Or is it similar to stuff that you've done before?
It's similar in a way because it's not right on top of me. It's not like I don't have that app right on top of me to where it feels like an assignment. Right.
I mean the actual movements themselves.
Oh, the actual movements themselves.
The actual program, not how you're interacting with it, but the actual programming itself.
Okay. I misunderstood you. it's going a lot better because I'm getting feedback, and I get feedback pretty quickly. So if there is an issue, you heard that, right?
I heard that.
Okay. If there is an issue with something, I take the video, whatever, and he'll tell me that he can either see what the issue is or I need to do it, take it from a different angle, whatever. But I have someone fixing problems as they show up. So the movements have gotten better. The numbers are going up, not at the rate that I want them to, but that's just my own, failing to accept the fact that I'm coming back from a lot of different injuries and brain trauma and all that shit. And also I'm not 25,
Yeah, they wouldn't be going the way you wanted to if you were in perfect health and been training this whole time either, though.
Right. That's true. That's very true. Yeah. But it feels like it's more guided, and I like that. I'm getting better feedback. Where I've always had an issue with the online coaching area, I've kind of eliminated one of those problems because, with your guy, you're dealing with someone that couldn't be further away if he fucking tried.
Yeah, and in that case, it was really weird because it really wasn't like he was not down the street.
Right.
I'd have videos that I'd send over daily,
yeah.
Just about. So I'd send videos to him daily on the main movers. Then he has a group that all the athletes participate in, and you throw in, hey, here's my assistance. How's this look?
Right.
So everybody's kind of contributing and giving feedback.
Yeah.
But yeah, every single workout, there was a video, there was a message. I was back and forth 4 times a week.
Right.
And then things were getting adjusted. So I'd only get, I get 4 weeks programming so I could see what I had in front of me.
Yeah.
And then based on that feedback, that stuff would change.
Yeah.
So yeah, going from Florida to Australia, I don't know that I don't have a globe in front of me right now, but that's a pretty long line to get there.
Yeah. And that was always one of my issues, though, is, if there's an issue with my squat form, I can send you a video and you'll look at it when you get it. And best case scenario, I hear back from you in a couple hours. Well, by that time, I'm already done training. All right. And I'm not going to squat again tomorrow.
Right.
So what you're telling me to adjust is going to wait until next week. Okay. Well, I adjust that. Okay. Well, it still isn't quite right. So now we're doing this again. Whereas if I was dealing with, a training partner in person, or, even if I had worked with a coach in person, then it becomes, I'm here in the moment. This is broken. What am I doing wrong? What do you see? What can we fix? And can be fixed that day, usually.
Yeah.
Or at least made better.
Right.
So it's like, okay, it's either we fix it in an hour or we fix it in a month.
Right.
And that was always one thing. Is like, why the fuck am I going to pay this much money? If I've got an issue, it's going to take forever for it to get fixed because there's going to be back and forth, back and forth. Well, I've kind of eliminated that because, yeah, he's in Miami, but
you could be in Miami tomorrow.
I could be. It takes me 4 hours to get there. I can go down to Miami. I can walk into the gym. He's there. All right. Here's where the issue is. Boom, boom, boom. And we did that a month out from Miami, from Miami's baddest. I went down there because since I've lost weight, I've been having issues with, a lot of my leverages and stances. My deadlift stance felt all fucked up. Nothing felt right. And my log, the clean and everything just felt wrong. So I went down there and I'm like, I've got these 2 issues. We fixed 2 issues in a morning. And then they've gotten better from there. But there's still, because things are still changing, I'm still losing weight, I'm still, things are still kind of shifting. He'll see my videos and be like, hey, all right, this has been looking good, but now I see that it's starting to do this, so adjust this way, adjust your stance this way, sit back more, sit back less. Like my deadlift from Wednesday, I sent it to him,
right, and
his note was, you're sitting into it more than you were. Now you're sitting into it too much, and you're losing losing glute drive at the bottom, and it's more of a dynamic movement to get it up instead of you pressing, basically leg pressing it up. So don't drop your hips as far. Okay, cool.
I got a thing for you on that, by the way.
Okay.
So,
But because we've already fixed my form to more, fix my stance to where I need to be and all that, now it's just those small tweaks. I don't have to fix the whole thing over the course of a couple months going back and forth in emails and video chats and all that. If it starts getting all fucky again, I can just shoot down to Miami, get it fixed in a day, or at least tweak it, and then we go from there.
Right.
And so that's more it's kind of more of like a personal training style, in-person level, which I appreciate. It definitely makes it feel like I'm getting my money's worth.
Oh yeah.
When you're paying $150, $200 a month, like in this sport, especially when you're dealing with coaches, that's not, it's not unreasonable. But
yeah, you're going to see from 80 to 300 plus.
Right.
Who you're working
exactly. So it's not an unreasonable amount of money, but when I have the ability to basically shoot down 95, go see my coach in person,
right,
and get some work done in person, and it doesn't cost me anything extra but the time and the gas and my effort to go down there. Yeah, I'm seeing the value in it. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely getting the bang for my buck. Whereas I see guys that are paying $250, $300 plus, to a coach that's on the other side of the country that they might see if they go to nationals. Or if it's a big show, maybe their coach comes out for that. If it's something like OSG or whatever. But other than that, Alabama's Strongest it's a big show. Mm-hmm. But most coaches aren't, most of the guys that are going, unless their coaches are local, it's not a big enough show. And it's not a big enough deal for their coach to give a fuck enough to go out there and be there at the show. Yeah. But I know that if I go to Florida, mm-hmm, if I go to Miami's Baddest, obviously,
right,
if I go to Iron Nightmare or any of those, I know my coach is going to be there.
Yeah.
And of course, not just for me, because there's a bunch of us in Florida that, train under him, and he's going to be there because his group is there.
Right.
But he's going to be at the small shows where I don't have to be like, man, fuck. I hope I get to go to OSG this year so I get to see my coach for the first time since OSG fucking last year. Like, hey, how you doing, man? How's that car that I'm fucking paying for every month?
I've had great experience. I've had bad experience. The first coach that I talked about, I'd send a video over, and I'd get a video back. Mm-hmm. And I'd put the two videos side by side. And basically, you're doing it wrong, do it this way. And that was the feedback I'd get.
Right.
I'd put the two videos side by side on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody that's not aware, I am as IT as you can get.
Yeah.
I've also taught visual communication for 15 years.
He invented Zoom.
Plus years.
He invented Zoom. He's too humble to admit it, but all those fucking annoying meetings and everything that you assholes sat in for your jobs during 2020 because you had to fucking go to work. But it's his fault.
Hey, all those annoying assholes are what bought your house. So,
this is fucking true. Thank you.
So I'd get a video back. I'd put them up side by side.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't just open them up side by side. I put them in video editing software side by side. And I'd track the movements. I did exactly what he did. It didn't work for me. How is sending me a video of exactly what I did, telling me I did it completely wrong when I can't see the difference?
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah.
That lasted about a month.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that expensive. Was pretty reasonable.
Right.
But you get what you pay for. No, not in this case.
Yeah.
It would have been overpriced if it was $5.
Yeah.
Now, with the programming, where I wasn't actually working with a coach, but that whole time I was just kind of doing the programming that I found. Interestingly enough, it was actually at Steel Mill.
Yeah.
The coaches that they've got there. So I signed up. I was a member there for a couple of years. And that was where I trained before I had a home gym.
Right.
So 2020 hit. I was out. I went back. As soon as they opened back up, I was back.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran there until late in 21.
I'm not gonna bring up the fact that it's a CrossFit gym and you remember a CrossFit gym. But
Well, so if we want to get specific,
I was a member at Steel Mill too at one point.
it's actually a CrossFit and powerlifting gym.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
not anymore. I took all the Westside shit out of there.
So all the coaches are Westside certified.
Yeah.
Plus additional certifications.
Right.
The coaches are powerlifting competitors.
Yeah.
So I made a lot of friends there, and I would go in and be like, I'm having trouble with my squat.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a hand. And I had a coach right there. Wasn't a coach, but I had somebody do form coaching right there, right then.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge.
Yeah.
That was huge. Obviously, powerlifting coaches aren't going to be able to help with things like log.
Right.
I had one of them spend an hour with me on split jerking.
Yeah.
Which, granted, when I put the log in his hand and he did a split jerk with the log, he said that is completely fucking different than anything that we've done in Olympic weightlifting. But here's how, and we were able to work through a lot of it.
Yeah.
To where I have not quite a strongman split jerk.
Right.
But definitely not a weightlifting split jerk.
Yeah.
So.
Which, by the way, sidebar, I've thought about it, and I'm going to work on my split jerk for Alabama as well. Just because
Did you run it by?
No, of course not. I haven't done that yet. Look, you've seen like Narcos and all that shit, right? Like you see. Okay, my coach is Colombian. I'm fucking terrified of him. Love the guy to death. He is like seriously just one of the most humble and nicest fucking humans I've ever met. But he gets a look in his eye. It's like, there's some bodies somewhere.
Well, you realize that you're telling him what you're going to do now, right?
If he watches this shit.
He's not one of the 6.
I'm going to block him.
Actually, we just got a couple more subscribers.
Oh, yeah?
I think we're up to 10.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
we're gonna recycle garbage play button soon.
Fuck yeah. We get to 20, we're going to fucking Sizzler.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We'll go to Red Lobster for 50.
Fuck yeah. We get to 50, I'm going to Red Lobster in a fur coat. You can all kiss my ass. Oh man.
You know, programming and distance, and we've had this conversation, and others in the circle have had the conversation.
Yeah.
Some people are dead set against the online, and some people are with it. I've worked online.
Yeah.
So I worked 13 years at a company from 2003 until 2016. I never met anybody I worked with. I never saw anybody I worked with because Zoom wasn't a big thing back then. We had meetings, we had shared screen and those sort of things, but nobody was on camera, so it wasn't a thing. I got to the new company, and I didn't invent Zoom, but I did bring Zoom to the new company.
See? He's starting to admit it.
In 2016.
Okay.
So already established.
So you were doing Zoom before it was cool.
We were doing Zoom before it was cool.
So you're a hipster.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's college stuff.
It's an IT thing. Yeah. So as far as online, to me, you know, I've worked from home. I've worked remote since 2002. Right? It wasn't a big thing when 2020 hit.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue working with somebody remote. And maybe because of all that experience, I can work with a distance coach better than with somebody right here. Well, not better than with somebody right here, but better than other people with the same coach, let's say. I'm used to the remote dialogue and how that works, and the ebb and flow of, you know, changes in form and stuff.
For me, it's almost like a culture shock, because coming from, and not, you know, this new era, what I call Instagram powerlifting, where, you know, everyone's got an online coach, but also, you know, 3,000 people go to nationals.
In each fed.
Right, in each fed. And, you know, everyone's got a world record in some fed, you know, like what was the one Dave Tate was talking about? Like, you squatted that weight before. Yeah, but my shoes are untied. The shoes untied PR, you know? There wasn't like, and this kind of goes back to the whole West Side thing. Like, yeah, Louis was West Side. Louis did all the, you know, wrote all the programming and all that, but there was no coach per se. Everyone just trained together, and we had this idea, and we're basing it off of this training principle, you know, but we're all working for the same thing. So to go from a group setting where it's a group mindset, you want your group, your crew, your team, whatever you want to call it. Well, we're all going to go to this meet together, and we all want to do well. You know, we want to have the biggest totals. We want to do this. We want to do that. there's a change, a big dynamic shift when you go to strongman, or at least for me, coming into strongman, where, it's not a big enough sport to where we have a lot of training groups. Like, there's a couple of gyms in Florida where there's enough guys together, but a lot of it has to be the online coaching and all that because the community is so far spread. It's a big community, but it's all over the place.
It's definitely not as dense as powerlifting.
Right.
There's, you go anywhere and you're going to run into the powerlifters.
Right.
And not just the guys that benched, 4 or 5 in high school.
Yeah.
But actual powerlifters. Any gym you go to, there's going to be a couple of them.
Right.
I still have yet to walk into a gym and run into somebody else that's a strongman competitor.
Yeah. I get text messages from buddies that I did, powerlifting with or whatever. They're like, hey, man, where do you train at? Who do you train with? Train, either at this gym or my house or my buddy's house. Why? What's up? Oh, this kid has showed up to the gym and he's wanting to get into strongman, but we don't fucking know anybody but you. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a fucking terrible resource. You should refer him to anybody but me. But like, it's so, for such a big community and such a growing sport, it's still very, very niche.
Yeah.
So having to do the distance coaching or buying the program, it becomes a necessity if you're wanting to make any kind of progress. If you want to move up in the sport, you want to get better, you're going to have to do it one of those ways. Right now we just don't have enough people to where 4 or 5 of us can get together Monday night. All right, it's overhead press night, and we're going to do, we're all working up to, heavy doubles.
Right.
We just don't have that. I'd like for us to have that. Like, that's the one thing I really, really miss.
Yeah. From
powerlifting is that. We'll get there eventually, I hope.
Right.
But right now it's still, 5 years in, it's still new to me. Yeah. It's still weird.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of cool because, before you go to a powerlifting meet in fucking Dothan, Alabama, with your 5 knucklehead buddies from Jacksonville. Well, the only guys there are your 5 knucklehead buddies from Jacksonville. And then, I've seen that guy on Facebook, or I'm friends with that guy, but you don't talk to him.
Right.
Whereas you go to a strongman comp or you go to a fucking Highland Games thing, and strongman more because Highland Games is very regional.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Alabama in August, and there's going to be people there that, we talk shit to on a daily basis.
Oh, we got friends from, Tennessee.
Yeah.
South Carolina, North Carolina.
Yeah.
A lot of Florida people.
A lot of Florida people.
A lot of Alabama people.
Alabama, Louisiana, Texas.
Yeah.
It's going to be, so, we'll have that group thing there.
Right.
But it's not a crew.
Right.
It's not a training. It's just, we all participate in strongman, and a lot of us are just dipshits. So we get along, which is a cool dynamic too.
Yeah,
because you get to some of the powerlifting meets, especially some of the the crazier geared meets and shit like that, and everyone's so fucking jacked up on whatever the hell they're taking that you might not even be in the same weight class as the dude that is eyeballing you from across the warm up room, but everything in you and everything in him, you want to kill each other.
Well, and that's an interesting segue, I guess, because one of the things that I wanted to do leading up this year to Static is the same thing that I had.
Yes.
Is a resource and somebody to say, hey, here's how you get into it. Here's how you do it.
Right.
I'm really hoping by bringing it back to the area, I can probably name 6 people near us that have done it before.
Right.
So how do we get more than those 6 people?
Right.
How do we grab some of the folks, maybe some of the folks from Steel Mill?
A
number of them have expressed interest in, that log thing looked cool.
And an event like Static Monsters is a perfect intro because it's only 2 lifts.
Right.
But it is 2 of the things that you're going to see
every time.
There's always going to be a deadlift and there's always going to be an overhead.
Pretty much.
And half the time it's going to be a log if it's overhead. The 18-inch deadlift, it's one of those things that kind of comes in waves.
It does, but a deadlift's a deadlift.
Right.
And I'm going to get so much hate for saying that.
But
still, a deadlift's a deadlift. If you're deadlifting from the floor, you can deadlift from 18.
Yeah.
Doesn't always go the other way.
Right.
But if you can pull a deadlift, you can pull an 18-inch deadlift. And you're probably going to pull a lot more than you pulled off the floor, so you're going to get that ego boost too.
Exactly.
That was the thing. If we just said the deadlift period, not specifying anything else,
Right.
I pulled a 100-pound PR at my first static.
Right.
Granted, I was comparing that to a conventional deadlift from the floor, and we're talking about 16 and a half inches off the ground.
Right.
But if you can pull a deadlift, you can pull a deadlift. So
Right.
everybody can do that.
Kind of like if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Exactly. The log, on the other hand, is something that very few people have access to, even fewer now that several of the people are quit making them,
Yeah.
which hopefully we're going to have a solution from Bauer Strength for that too here soon.
Yeah.
But in running up to this and leading up to this, I'm hoping people reach out and they're like, hey, I want to do this, but I have no idea.
Right.
Well, part of the reason, and again, that I put 1,000 square foot strongman facility on my property is so I can say, hey, swing by Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's not a whole training crew like that, but we can still do an event day on a Sunday. As far as the sport itself, I think that's one of the keys to growing things, is to have that resource of somebody that says, hey, I've got a log, come on over, I'll show you how to press it.
That's one thing that, Tanya down in Tampa, Tanya Jimenez and her group, is really cool that they're doing in that area is that whole Welcome to Strongman group.
Yeah.
And, they're showing up as a sponsor at so many of the, shows in the state, and they're bringing out implements so people can try them. And, they're bringing out lighter weight versions of the implements. So, someone who's there watching, their freaking wife's brother, compete, man, that looks really cool. Well, you go over there and they run you through the basics. You get to kind of try it out. You get to see what it's like. So I think it's really cool that that's something that she's doing for the sport and that whole group. It really sucks that some people have kind of shit on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because of that old gatekeeping mentality. And and we can say that it's, a problem in strongman, but it's a problem in Highland Games. It's a problem in powerlifting. It's a fucking problem in bodybuilding. It's a fucking problem in CrossFit. I was like, dude, why are you taking it so seriously?
Right.
Why do any of us take any of this shit? So I can understand why the Brian Shaws and, the Jerry Pritchett's and why they take it seriously, because they're at the pro level. Right. I can understand that. But what'd you do today before you came out to the gym? Or what do you do on a typical day before you come out to train? You work, right?
I work the whole day.
And you got a family and all that kind of shit.
Yep.
So this isn't as serious as all that. This is a fucking hobby.
It is.
Now,
it's a pastime.
And maybe it's one that we obsess over a little bit too much. That's because we're competitive and all that, but it's not to an unhealthy level.
It does have carryover into the rest of life, though.
It does.
So it's different than when I'd work for the whole day and then I'd go to the bar and I'd throw darts.
Right.
Right? Because it's the same thing. It's a pastime. It's a hobby. I'm not a pro. There's pros. There's people living off of what they're doing with darts. It was something to do.
Yeah.
It had shit for carryover into the rest of my life.
Right.
Right? Except for that one occasion where I have to throw a dart over to knock out the breaker that's on fire or something like that.
Yeah.
That scenario that's never going to happen.
Well, now I want it to happen.
Well, I wired everything. It's fine. It's not going to happen.
I guess I feel better about that.
But strength training in any form has carryover to the rest of your life.
Right.
Look at all the videos that keep popping up, 70, 80, 90-year-olds deadlifting, and then look at all the other ones of the 60-year-olds that are just sitting there watching TV.
Right.
Right. So it's a hobby, but it does have carryover.
It does have
additional value.
Right. It's a healthy.
So I went from where I'm at now.
Right.
Right. Which, granted, I am in nonstop pain from the previous injuries. I mean, the pain didn't go away.
Right.
Functionally, I'm not the same person I was.
Yeah.
I used to sit on the couch. That was the extent of it.
Right.
I threw my back out getting a can of Coke off of the counter one time.
Yeah.
And I was laid up for a week and I developed pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I'm out moving the freaking Atlas stones that need to make it into the gym, but I'm out moving them out of my way.
Right.
And not thinking twice about it.
Yeah.
200-pound stones, moving them and rolling them around here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a thing.
See, that right there. This is one thing that...
Don't talk about my organizational skills. I know the stones are still outside.
Have you met me? Have you seen my fucking gym? Like, come on, man.
I know, your stones are outside too.
Yeah. But as much as people love to give the guy shit, rip a toe. And the starting strength thing. He'll tell you, and he says it all the time, and it's something that I really respect. He's like, I'm not training you to be a world record powerlifter. That's not what I'm training people for. Because I don't want to train people for that. I don't want to. So what I'm training people for is so that your 65-year-old grandmother can get up off the toilet without having to, hit up Life Alert. Yeah. I want you to be able to have the strength at 75 years old to get up out of your recliner. It's, and I mean, again, the guy takes a lot of shit. Some of it he deserves. He's a bit cantankerous, but
this angry pink man.
Yeah. But I mean, the entire idea of what he's doing and his coaching and programming is right there in the name. Starting strength. If I understand he has a beginner and he has the intermediate and the advanced stuff and all that, but I feel like if you're 5 years in and you're still running starting strength programming, unless you're coming back from an injury or something like that, you're
exercising.
Yeah, you're exercising.
Yeah.
Go do CrossFit, because at least you can exercise with your shirt off and it's not weird. We're switching them up, huh?
That last one got a little bitter there.
It did. Yeah.
So those were the ones that I picked up I got those in Dunedin.
Okay.
At the Highland Games I was judging.
Yeah.
And I went out and wandered around and already had kilts, I already had pins, I already had this, I already had that. So all the tents are pretty much the same ones that you see every single time.
Right.
And then there's this nice guy sitting off on the side with a whole display of cigars. They're from Ybor.
Okay.
So they were all hand rolled. So I grabbed a couple of them.
I think didn't he show up at St. Augustine also?
I don't know.
Over there next to where all the where the beer tents and stuff by the stage were. I know there was a cigar guy there.
Possibly. I was a little distracted with a couple of days of judging and running around trying to make sure everything was going smooth. These have no band, they have no label. I won't tell you where they came from, but they're pretty good.
Should I be concerned?
No.
Okay.
No. And again, back to it, one of the things and one of the goals of actually building this was to be able to get people over, to get more people into it.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a quote unquote strongman gym in the area.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not turnkey. It's not everybody come over whenever you want and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to here before too long doing a strongman Sunday.
Yeah.
And
we were doing them for, a good little while in St. Augustine, but, life kind of got in the way, and it was in a situation where, like, we were having to haul equipment to and from a gym.
Yep.
Then we started having people, to the house, but I just...
Yeah.
When someone says they're showing up, and then they show up and they bring two people...
Right.
It's one thing if they do it at the gym, but when you do it to, at my house, it's a little weird, But then... it got to the point to where, all right, we're going to do this day, this time, this day. And it became the same thing with throwing practice.
Yeah.
Where how many times, was I the only person in the gym?
Right.
Or, it was me and you, or me, you and Justin, or me and Justin, or, whatever. It's like, well, why the fuck are we, blocking off an entire section of our day for other people when...
Well, that's why I stopped the throwing practice I was doing. Is it started out as... I didn't have enough room here to throw hammer.
Mm-hmm.
That was what started the whole thing.
Yeah.
I practice sheaf. I practice stone. I practice weight for distance.
Yeah.
I don't have a caber. I can't practice caber here. I don't have enough room. So
right.
It would be hammer and caber for the day that I had a caber.
Yeah.
Out of the field.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Let's post it. Everybody come out. And I even did I asked, I said, is Saturday or Sunday better? And I got split decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing 1 week on Saturday and 1 week on Sunday.
Yep.
And guess what? The same amount of people showed up.
Yeah.
Me. You showed up a bunch of times, but it's an hour hike for you to come up to where I was throwing practice. But even the local people, I get 1 or 2 people show up every once in a while.
Yeah.
I get one of them was pretty regular, but he had so much other stuff going on. He'd come out, throw for a few minutes, and then have to go.
Yeah.
So now I'm dragging 400 pounds of equipment or whatever it is. And I had to buy a dolly to be able to carry everything out. So I'm carrying all the equipment, going out there, setting up. And one of two things would happen. Occasionally there'd be a ton of people, in which case it wasn't a practice because I was showing people how to do stuff. They were throwing and I was just kind of watching.
Yeah.
Or the most time was just me going out there and throwing. But I go out there and throw for a half hour. And because I said I was going to be out there, well, now I'm kind of stuck waiting for anybody else to show up. Maybe they're a little bit late.
Right.
you know, what if they show up 2 minutes after I leave because I was only out here for a half hour because I
Right.
got my 10 throws in.
Yeah.
It just became too much,
Mhm.
and it was chewing up half of one of my days off. And I had other stuff
Right.
going on, family stuff, everything else. There is practice for Highland Games starting back up.
Yeah.
So if you go to a Call to Arms Facebook group,
Mm-hmm.
there's posted practices all around Florida.
Yeah.
There's going to be at least once a month a practice held in Jacksonville,
Mhm.
actually right down from where you're at.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of a hike off 95, and there's going to be a practice once a month.
Right.
The catch I've got with it is it's so early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
which I get. Nobody wants to go practice in the heat,
Yeah.
except me. I'll go out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and throw on a field in the middle of July.
I work in a warehouse all fucking day. I don't give a shit.
But I'd rather sleep in a little bit. I'd rather
Mhm.
enjoy my breakfast and chill out. So rushing out to get out to a field in 45 minutes from my house
Right.
at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock
Doing
on a
it
Sunday
more than
morning,
once a month is just not fun.
right. Whereas on the flip side is I can practice throwing and sheaf and everything else
Yeah.
here. So I'll do that once a week,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
But carting everything out, man, that's a hassle.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the reason I moved to a home gym.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything against steel mill. I mean, it was awesome. I miss so much. I miss the culture there.
Yeah.
CrossFit and powerlifting. But I miss the culture.
Yeah.
But loading up a log and crash pads and a circus dumbbell to go run over there and then unload it,
And then
set
lift
it up, lift it, you're done. Now load it back up.
and then come home, unload it.
Exactly.
You know. Yeah. It becomes
That was an extra 45 minutes of my day,
right.
you know? I didn't save any money by building a home gym.
No.
I
None of us
guarantee I saved nothing building a home gym. It is going to take me 480 years
Mm-hmm.
to pay off the difference compared to even a fee at a box.
Right.
But I finish up work at 6 o'clock. I walk out here by 6:05. I'm warming up.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
that easy.
The cool thing is, you know, about doing it like, you know, here or whatever is, yeah, you're home, but this is a separate space.
Yes,
You know, we're not in your house. We're not attached to your house. It's a lot different than training in the garage.
it's different than yours. Yeah,
Yeah. But if we're going to be over here hanging out on a Sunday anyway, we're going to be here, you know, me and you, we're going to be here for, you know, most of the day.
Yeah.
And if other people show up and we're throwing together, awesome.
Yep.
We're training together.
I get
Awesome.
what you mean.
But if not, we're still doing what the hell we were going to do anyway.
Right.
You know? So it does make it a little bit more palatable.
Yeah.
You know, whereas packing up and going and hosting a strongman training thing at a place,
Yep.
you know, until the community gets built up more, which I hope we're able to start doing, you know, it's just kind of a crapshoot.
And I'm not looking at training or personal training or program
Right.
or anything right now. This is just going to be a Sunday thing. Hey,
Yeah.
you've never lifted a log before? Come on over, give it a shot.
Yeah.
We'll train events on.
We'll
Sunday.
show you all the ways to do it wrong.
Exactly.
And then you can hire a coach and they'll tell you we're idiots and this is how you do it.
So, and that's like what Tanya's doing is
Yeah.
getting that exposure and getting more people involved.
Mhm.
I'm not at a point with work, with family, with, health, with everything where I can go load a bunch of stuff up and go to someplace like she
Yeah.
does.
And even if I was,
huge kudos for
just-
the effort she's putting into it.
I got to be honest. I just don't give a shit enough.
Well, and again, if it's something we're doing already for ourselves,
Right, exactly.
join in. And there's a few folks out there that I've talked to that have reached out. Yeah, I know how to do this one thing. I will be more than happy to help you with this thing.
Yeah.
That's great. Come on by. We'll work through it.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff's fun. That's
Yeah.
that's helping somebody else. I enjoy that.
Yeah, me too.
And that's part of the reason I'm working on the certifications I'm working on.
Right. And I'm going to start doing the same because, like, I mean, like we always, we're not doctors,
Mhm.
but we're also not coaches.
Right. Yeah.
We know what we're doing. I mean, I can teach you how to, log press better than I can do fucking open heart surgery for damn sure. But can I break down the fundamentals based on the way that you're,
Right.
no, I can show you the basics of how to do this and then we go from there. Or I can, like, I've got a buddy who every time he trains, he's newer to lifting. He'll send me a video. Hey, how does this look? How does that look? Hey, this looks good, but and we have similar proportions, so similar leverages. Like, okay, well, I see that, like your squat is about 2 inches too high. Try adjusting your feet this way. Try doing this. Try doing that. And like, I can do that.
So you don't just tell them lower the weight and work on form?
Right. No, it's not Facebook. No, I usually tell them, all right, move your feet like 3 inches out wider and double the weight. And if you don't go to the hospital, you did something right. But like, I enjoy doing that. Yeah. So I would enjoy doing that in person here, with people that are wanting to get into the sport. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to start working on the certifications because eventually I want to be able to do that more officially.
Well, certifications is a whole other topic that I don't know if either one of us knows enough to get into. But what I do know is that we're not going to learn how to do that part per se,
right,
from those certifications. Those are things we already know.
Yeah.
There's probably some refinement to it, but
right.
it crosses over into an interesting piece that you've touched on before. Is everybody that's competed in a competition is a coach all of a sudden?
Yeah.
And if you'll notice, there's some very, very distinct names missing from that list.
Mm-hmm.
And those are people that realized, I know how to do this. I don't know how to show somebody else how to do this, though.
Right.
And there's a difference there. And that's what you run into with a lot of the coaches that aren't very successful.
Yeah.
That some we've talked to, others that, we've all heard of.
Yeah.
Is, just because you're good at doing something doesn't mean you're good at teaching something.
Right.
The flip side, my entire career has involved educating in one form or another.
Right.
All the way back to when I was in the Navy, there was always that element of teaching somebody how to do something.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite reviews, performance reviews, my supervisor put down, if you don't know how to do something, ask Tripp.
Yeah.
If he doesn't know how to do it, give him a day. He'll come back and teach you how to do it and explain why.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been my approach to things.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the quote, who I cannot remember who it attributes to, but you don't really know something until you can explain it to a kindergartner.
That's true.
So if you can explain something to a kindergartner, to a 4-year-old, you understand that concept. You understand what that is.
Mm-hmm.
I work towards that for myself, for whatever.
Right.
I need to know it well enough to where I can explain it to a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. So just because I learned how to do a press, I'm not happy with that.
Right.
I'm still watching videos. I'm still asking people questions. I'm still looking at things. How do I know this better? How do I understand this better?
Right.
Because that's the way that I improve.
Yeah.
So
see, for me, it's because of all the years of training with a group of dudes for powerlifting, mm-hmm. And us not having a coach in the group. We would all work together. If someone was having a problem with their, with the deadlift, mm-hmm. well, we would all, okay, do it. All right, here's what I see. Here's what I see. Here's what we, try this, try this, try this. And we would figure it out together.
Well, that's like the do one, teach one philosophy.
Right.
Yeah.
That is, and I've done it for so many years that I consider that to be a strength when it comes to, helping people, like my buddy who, shoots me lifting videos. Mm-hmm. I can look at what he's doing and say, hey, try this, try this, try this, because I've done this a million times with my friends at the gym. I've gotten help that way, and I've helped my friends that way. So it's not as precise as it would be if I was, if I knew the theory of all the movements and this, that, and the other, I'm sure. But I know it well enough to be dangerous enough to be like, hey, if you turn your feet out, another 10 degrees, maybe that's going to improve your depth. Maybe if you space your feet, half a foot width wider, maybe just outside shoulder width instead of, right at shoulder width, maybe you'll be able to hit depth. Think like I'm able to do that. The problem is, and why I finally had to break down and get a coach, I can do that for somebody else. Mm-hmm. I can't do that shit for myself.
Yeah.
What I'll do is, my squat didn't hit depth. What the fuck? And then I just get mad, and then I just hammer that same fucking movement in the same way. I don't change a goddamn thing until I either get it right or I hurt something.
Well, so if you're 2 inches high, you just put more weight on the bar, and that'll push you lower.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's things that I don't know if I'm ever going to be comfortable coaching or walking somebody through.
Yeah.
Squat's one of them.
Right.
I suck at the squat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm horrible at the squat. I hit depth.
Yeah.
But my numbers on the squat are nowhere near what they should be.
Right.
Which is what surprised me so much at Alabama last year when I stood up with what I stood up with.
Mm-hmm.
Tells me that if I can get my form down, I have the power to move. Those kind of numbers. Just squatting, I've never come close to it.
Right.
But I did it. Was that Anderson from the bottom?
Yeah.
So I did it.
Basically.
I did it basically like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved 80 pounds over my PR.
Yeah.
Over my free squatting PR.
Mm-hmm.
From depth.
Yeah.
Because they were pretty picky on depth.
Yeah.
So, what do I need to do to fix that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Am I focused on it? I'm still getting the benefit of the training with the weights I'm doing.
Right.
Because my 1 rep is still my 1 rep, so
Yeah.
my percentages are still my percentages.
And that's when it comes to strongman style training, especially if you're, if there's a competition that you're training for, well, if there's not a squat in it,
Right.
Squat's a secondary movement.
Right.
We don't need to train for
Like bench press.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, that's still a point of contention.
I did start focusing on my bench finally.
Yeah.
Well, and my bench is lagging so much.
Right.
I mean, I was thinking about that road competition last night,
Mm-hmm.
the 1,000-pound club.
Yeah.
You know what? I wonder if I could just enter with a squat and a deadlift and just bench the bar. Because I don't want to put my max bench on there because it's embarrassing.
Right. Dude, oh my God, there was the guy in one of the groups. He posted his whole thing. He got into the 1,000-pound club. And someone commented, someone who is not a well-known power lifter, but if you're into powerlifting, you know who they are. Like, sweet. What 2 lifts was it? And they were like, oh no, it was squat, bench, and deadlift. And he was like, oh. Well, I warmed up in the 1,000-pound club, so I don't know what we're talking about here.
I'm not a power lifter. My bench is poverty, and we just talked about my squat. But I mean, I'm looking at the 15 is next.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's at a 105.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. At 105, a 1,500-pound total on a local level, especially on an amateur level, that's going to do pretty damn well. Especially at like a raw meet or a tested meet or whatever. That's going to do pretty well. When you're more used to trying to go for a 2,000-pound total, but or 2,500-pound total, but you're in a multiply fucking shirt, and you're wearing briefs, and it's a whole different fucking ball game. But it's like we talked about before. A guy that's bench pressing 315, in most circles, powerlifting.
Don't hurt my feelings here.
But that's an it's an average lift, right? It's a good number.
Well,
but
that's a number I'm calling poverty. So
right, it's respectable, but yeah, we still consider it a poverty lift. But fucking Bill the accountant over at LA Fitness, if he ever gets 225, and he's been training since high school, even though he benched 405 in high school,
right?
But when he gets 225, that's the biggest fucking day of his life,
right?
So it's
now we're touching back on the whole dysmorphia thing,
right? Which we all have it. That's why we're fucking doing this.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's given.
Mm-hmm.
But I was sitting there working on the truck this morning.
Yeah,
and that's what my day was today. Was lowering an S10 project that I picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there tightening everything down, and all of a sudden it hit me as I'm like, is that getting looser? That what I was used to when I was a mechanic, as far as, okay, this is how much effort I put in. I put 70% of everything I can give it, and that's a good torque for this bolt. I need to not do that now.
Because now you're overdoing it. And
I was, the exhaust got, what was that? what was that movie? Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
So somebody caught the exhaust like a Tommy Boy type thing.
Oh shit.
They must have backed up into it. They dragged the thing. It moved to like 1.5 feet forward.
Fuck.
So the pipe was kinked.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to attach it to.
Yeah.
So I cut the end of it off, but I couldn't get it on the bracket. So I was laying under the truck and I grabbed it and I went, and I just moved the whole thing over. and I bent the pipe straight again. And, you know.
Right.
So I was like, wait a minute. I shouldn't have been able to do that.
Right.
That was pretty cool. All right. So I just bent a piece of exhaust pipe under the truck.
Yeah.
And straightened this thing back out. And we don't look at that. You know?
Right.
So the 1,000-pound club, if you've already been there,
Yeah.
is small. But I
Right.
remember back in 2018, 2019, when I was training at the Globo gym, talking with one of the coaches there about having a thing on the wall for the 1,000-pound club. Because I was excited. I wasn't there yet. I need to get there. This is where I need to be.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different thing. And
It really is.
I watched the group, and I watched everybody talk about their 1,000-pound T-shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
It really wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
You know, you'll pay what, $35
$35 for a T-shirt. Yeah.
for a T-shirt. But for something that I've surpassed, I can hit with 2 lifts.
Right.
Now, if I can get my bench up, you know, that 15 is not too far off.
Right.
So I did start working on it again.
Yeah.
Just because it needs to be there. Because I have no idea where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even tested. What I really want to do is take a week off and just test. But
Well, I mean, there's no disadvantage to improving any lift.
Right.
Unless it's to the point to where you're training it so much that it's detrimental to other things.
that's part of the issues. I've got some pre-existing shoulder issues. So if I'm going to go compete with an overhead, do I really need that? What's one you call it? Mileage?
Yeah.
Do I really need that extra mileage of benching because benching's in the program?
Right.
And some of the programs didn't have benching.
Mm-hmm.
All of Alzer's programs, 4 days. So you've got deadlift, overhead, squat, and bench.
Yeah.
Most of them in that order.
Yeah.
That's the way you set them up. So they're all there.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm getting back to it. I don't think I benched for a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Yeah. See, I'm overheading and benching in the same day.
I did some incline work. I did some flies. Max had me doing some flies and some incline work, but not really a whole lot of benching.
Right.
Until I got injured. And then that was one of those step back movements to where I was able to do a partial range of motion and get some effect out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we got on the topic of benching again.
Who knows?
So how do we want to wrap up?
So we're doing static monsters. Or we're in the process.
We are doing static monsters.
There'll
be more on all of the social media. We will be looking for sponsors for Static Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
We have to figure out the tiers and the packages and stuff.
Right.
But all of the social medias will have the information as it becomes available.
Yep.
And kind of keep an eye out there. If you're watching this, if you do have questions, if you're in the area and you've never deadlifted an axle or pressed a log before and you're interested, hit me up. We'll figure out a day that we can all get together and do an event day.
And can reach out to me as well on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. If you're following this, you know who I am, so you know how to fucking find me.
Keep an eye out for carrier pigeons with little notes on their feet.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, reach out.
Don't walk up in my yard. I'll
just reach out. We'll get everybody comfortable with what we're doing.
Yeah.
I am going to make sure that we have Friday weigh-ins. So there will be a 24-hour weigh-in.
Thank God.
Those will be here.
Okay.
That's the one piece that I'm set on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just, again, I work from home. This is on my property.
Yeah.
We're set up. I've got multiple scales.
Mm-hmm.
If you weigh more than 880 pounds, I need a heads up because I have to get an extra scale.
We'll just get 2 scales and we'll add the number together.
Well, that's what we're doing because I have a pair of 440s.
Right on.
So we can get up to 880 pounds. Everybody has to weigh in.
Yeah.
But we will do the 24-hour weigh-in.
Okay.
There will be weigh-ins the morning of as well.
Okay.
But yeah, if it's something that sounds like fun, that sounds interesting, and you've never done it before and you want to give it a shot, here to help, here to get more people involved.
Absolutely.
In it. So, again, I think we're at about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So
we've determined static monsters is happening.
Mm-hmm.
We went over coaching versus programming. We've determined that I'm scared of my coach.
Yep. I'm scared of you, coach, too.
Yeah. We all should be scared of him.
He's an absolute great guy.
He is, but like I said, there's got to be at least one or two. There's got to be bodies somewhere, you know. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap it up, and we'll see. Can we get the train to come by one more time, real quick here? Or? No.
No, it'll be as soon as we walk out of here.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, all right. Well, until next time.
Yep.
We will go ahead and sign off. Trip, Bam, on the platform at Bauer Strength.
It's probably Bam on Instagram and at Refit Nation because I've got fucking bills to pay.
Yes, definitely. If you need to build a gym like we've been talking about this whole time,
Yep.
Refit Nation can hook you up from end to end.
Yep.
Including incremental dumbbells and everything you might possibly need to bench press.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
We are out.
See you.